Buckle up, because today's guest has a particular set of stories.
Oh, we can talk for ages.
I keep talking.
And no, that's not just a Liam Neeson reference, though he is my 1 degree of separation from the man himself.
I heard my name being called and turned around, it was Liam. But he had known me previously, you see, so it's...
I'm talking to James, Seamus O'Brien, one of the key Makimo clients.
Wow, donkey physiotherapy.
Yes.
We're tackling the philosophy of entrepreneurship.
Kind of really push yourself when you've got an idea and to think about it.
What does it actually take to build, to fail, and to keep going on different levels?
AI and stuff like that, that might disrupt technology.
Come on, let's go find out.
There are always, out of chaos comes opportunity. Mm-hmm. In most countries, like for instance, when I bought my apartment in Riga, the legal part was done in 15 minutes. We just went to a notary. Mm-hmm. We had the document, went to the notary, stamped the notary, I paid the notary. She put it on the land registry. That was it. The girl who was acting for the seller, and I bought her lunch. We went for lunch as a little celebration, and it was done. That everything was finalised in 20 minutes. Where in Ireland it can take a year sometimes to buy, getting all the documents. You can buy the house and you can move in and everything, but all the legal process takes long. And even the mortgage that I got in Latvia was very simple, very straightforward, very quick. Where in Ireland it's a bigger process. They go into a lot more depth. So the law is complicated. There's 2 different legal systems. The Irish legal system is based on the British legal system. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot more bureaucracy because Britain was an empire. During its empire days, the bureaucracy just grew. They were having to organise things in India and America and Ireland and wherever other countries they had. So I think in somewhere like Latvia, which is an ex-communist country, when you leave communism, your legal system has to be restarted again. And it tends to start from a simpler first principle basis.
Almost every system, legal, bank system, everything that's around some law regulation
there's lots of,
that's why we had credit cards and the online payments in Poland. And in America, they still need to authorize their credit card payments and use checks.
Because you were lucky that you were, at the time, you were starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So you were able to adopt the best practice and the best technology
from the time
from there
and from the future.
And where in America they're still relying, and the cost of change can be more complicated than just starting from scratch.
I don't want to dig down because America's banking system is a rabbit hole, and stories that you're waiting for a week or 2 for a wire
for wire transfer,
because
they don't have the SEPA system, which is great. I mean, you can do instant payments in Ireland within Europe, So I can, if I was to send you money from my account to your account, it can be just instant. It can be done in seconds.
We were doing projects together, and we had some different adventures with business. I think that's where you picked the most difficult word to pronounce for the podcast.
Right. Entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Entrepreneurship.
That's where it comes.
It's French.
Handy.
It's not really English. Entrepreneur is a French word. Anyway, so that's why it's a little bit more difficult.
If it was really French, you would omit half of the letters in the world.
Well, he is French. No, entrepreneur is a person of business, I think.
But that's where being an entrepreneur comes into play.
Yeah. My idea of what an entrepreneur is someone who is curious about the world. And I think that curiosity is what drives entrepreneurship. It's to understand how the world works and see the world, and you see the gaps. You see, ask, why don't I do it this way? Or, look at does this restaurant have the seating in this format? Or, why do airlines make you carry your own bags? All this kind. So you keep, and everywhere, and when you travel particularly, it's really good for entrepreneurship because that gives you ideas, and this curiosity feeds your imagination. And I think that's the first principle of what an entrepreneur is. I know a lot of people who are not entrepreneurs by nature. They like to go to work. They like to feel the security of their pay at the end of the month. They want their little house. They like their watching football on telly. They like to have the routine. An entrepreneur doesn't really like routine. They like adventure. They like achieving things and working hard to achieve it, because it kind of becomes an addiction in some ways when you want to be an entrepreneur, that you want to you have a vision of something. That said, good entrepreneurs have to gain a set of skills to do that. So there's certain skills about yourself. You have to think, you have to be critical, be able to be self-critical, look at your idea and see how it fits in the real world, and see your idea from other people's eyes. That's really important.
In the real world and in particular context, yes?
In a particular context.
And that's where the traveling, or even not traveling, but maybe just learning about the world through other media, because at first the grass is always greener on other side, but you can validate if that's true.
Yes.
But also get the best practices from the other worlds, other businesses, branches, countries, and adapt it. Maybe use them straight away, maybe transform them.
Yes, I mean, travel and seeing different cultures is very important, because that's educational. I think everyone should travel for education anyway. Ireland is an unusual place to grow up in, because we have this island mentality. We don't have any we have neighbours, like Britain is our neighbour, and they're a different clan. We're Celtic and they're Saxon, so there's a cultural difference already, of value, what their values are against what our values are and stuff like that. But also in Ireland, we have this kind of thing of just dealing with each other. We're a tribe in a way, that we kind of, I trust you because I know you, I know your family, I know my father knew your grandfather, all this kind of stuff, You're reachable, everybody in Ireland, it's quite a small country. It's changing now, but there was a time when you could just meet everybody. There was, you meet the president, or you meet the...
I remember you telling us how casually you met Liam Neeson.
I was working in...
and he was just riding his bicycle. You said... Hi.
Oh, yes, but I had known Liam from previously before that, because I had worked at the Abbey Theatre before he went to Hollywood and stuff and started doing that. He was a stage actor, and he was the Abbey Theatre is our national theatre.
But still, you could not know him and just skip the hello part.
Well, I mean, he was calling it was 4:00 in the morning. I was coming home from a party.
Okay.
Walking home. It was a nice evening. It was midsummer. He was shooting a film called Michael Collins, where he played, and he was going home on set, and he had a bicycle in this film that he used to ride as a character. So he was riding this bicycle to his house where he was living at the time. We just came across each other, and I heard my name being called and turned around, and it was Liam. But he had known me previously, you see, so But people do, that happens all the time. You just bump into people. It's a little less now, because we've become, particularly somewhere like Dublin, has become more a globalised city. 20, 30 years ago, it was still a big city, but it was a village, really. Everybody knew each other, and it wasn't. Now it's just become a mishmash of different nationalities coming to work there. We have big corporate headquarters, like Facebook is there, Google is there. That's where all their European and North African headquarters are. So you get engineers and people come, and business people coming and going out of Ireland. And Ireland has become, going back to entrepreneur, that's a symptom of Ireland's success story as a country, and how it became a country to do business in on a global context, and how the Irish companies around the world are very, very successful. We have a great network. And this is another element of being an entrepreneurship. Liking people, getting to know people, having fun with them. It's not all about business. Getting to know people on a human level, and sharing the vision of doing a project together, and share, and that sharing is what is a big strength. And we're lucky that in the 80s and 90s, the Irish government really reached out to the world, and we created this trade board called Enterprise Ireland. They are really good at what they do, and it became the biggest trade board in the world for a tiny little country. And we have offices in every major city in the world. A close friend of mine was the Enterprise Ireland head of Enterprise Ireland in Poland. So he knows Poland really well, he knows the industries here very well, and he ran the Enterprise office out of Warsaw for many, many years. So we have this, it's something that actually changed in our character in Ireland. We, in the 90s, in the late 80s, early 90s, we still had this kind of inferiority complex. We still felt like we weren't good enough. Italia 90 was the World Cup. And everyone this is kind of a pivot point in time that in Italia 90, we got to the quarterfinals of the Irish football team, who never get anywhere, right? And we lost in the quarterfinals to a guy called Scalacci, who was an Italian football player, who scored a goal, even though we think he was offside, but he still won. A few days later, when the Irish football team arrived home, you would think that they had won the World Cup. There was an open bus parade. There was 500,000 people on the main street cheering them on. It was broadcast on TV. And they lost in the quarterfinals.
Doesn't matter. That's what I like about underdogs in all those large tournaments. When they got home after quarterfinals, even 1/8.
Yeah, it was
they're just welcome like kings. And they're all happy because, wow.
Yeah. That was the pivot point in Irish thinking about that we could be successful on the world stage. Now, of course, we had U2 and the Cranberries and all those artists. And we had some filmmakers, and big international movies were being filmed in Ireland and stuff like Braveheart and all that kind of stuff at the time. So that created a profile. And that kind of profile about the country and its kind of upsurge of success really helped our business communities for business to come and set up their European headquarters in Ireland, particularly the American companies, to come and engage with Irish business and work with them. And the government in their legislation were very progressive in how they attracted these people in and how the tax breaks they gave them. And we built a skill base on the island. So in different sectors, this, like pharmaceuticals, technology, IT particularly, we created graduate programs with the university system and created. So we had this big knowledge base. Sometimes people think that these big American companies come here for tax breaks and come to Ireland to get a break on their tax. But actually, essentially, it's about the skills that are there on the ground. Now, that's something that's going to change in the future with the implementation of AI and stuff like that. That might disrupt technology. But there are always, out of chaos comes opportunity. And so as an entrepreneur, you have to adapt to different environments and how to get your idea, put it on paper, understanding how to create a business plan, looking at all the elements of that, from financing to, and understanding, is this really, if you're making a product, is this really going to work? Am I able to sell enough of this product or this service in order to justify, the work I'm going to put in, the investment that will come in? And so you get to kind of really push yourself when you've got an idea and to think about it. And it becomes obsessive to think when you've got a good idea, you really want to make it work. You spend a lot of time writing things down, writing notes down. And then sometimes you have to do simple things. Like the simplest kind of feasibility study is to go and ask friends, what do they think? Now, you have to be careful with that because most friends, they want to protect you from yourself usually. And so then most friends will tell you, I don't think that's a good idea.
Or they might be really supportive and they say, oh, that's a great idea. And then...
Well, they're the best friends to have. That's the best kind of advice, to say, look, this is where it's weak, this idea. I think you could do better. And another element of entrepreneurship is the environment you're in is really important. So sometimes you might have a great idea, but it might not work within the environment you're living in. You know, sometimes you think, well, this might work better in a different part of the country, or it might work different in a different country.
Or continent even.
Continent, of course. Like, you know, there has been a lot of Irish entrepreneurs who've struggled with their idea in Ireland, but then they would go to the United States, and suddenly everybody wants to get involved in they make it work. You know, probably the final thing I'll talk about as an entrepreneur is that you have to let other people help you. Sometimes you get people who have ideas, but they don't want to tell you what it is, because they think you're going to steal the idea and they're nervous of it. And of course, that can be a concern. In reality, you have to share. You know, you have to go and say, you know, what do you think of this? And then you need to go and tell people, especially when you want to look for funding and stuff like that.
At some point, you need to go to the market and promote your idea, and another person can do something based on your idea. And is that stealing? No, not really. It might be a confirmation bias right now, because a few days ago we had a creative mindset and Lego serious play workshop where we were talking about creativity, and what you're talking about, entrepreneurship, is basically what I call creativity. It's being curious, being connected to people, connecting to other things, and letting all those ideas flow and exploring everything.
So we call this blue sky thinking or brainstorming, you know, the way you kind of try and get ideas.
You can find entrepreneurship or creativity, even simple things like how this restaurant is laid out, because it maybe it can be laid out better. Maybe I can do my work better here right now if I can optimize this or make it more fun.
Yes, and sometimes it can be the opposite of that, where you find you go into a restaurant and you go, that's an interesting way they've done that. Why did it? You know, it really works. So you know, sometimes you know, you might have a restaurant that sells nice wines or whatever, but you just want a beer. And a restaurant will go, well, we don't sell beer, we're a top class posh restaurant. Sometimes you're going to say, you'd have someone who'll tell you about the best wines. I know of one restaurant that you can go and you can ask about the nice wine, but then you can go and ask about the best craft beers, you know. So if you're a beer, so you can say, that's a really clever thing to do, including other tastes and other.
And you can't exclude people from the equation. Really. I've met people who call themselves serial entrepreneurs, but I don't think their businesses were that successful. They felt, even though the idea was kind of good, it felt so disconnected from the human element.
Yes, I mean, obviously, when you think about the market, what is a market? You're going to market, or you're going to do a market study, or you market research. What is the market? The market is just
people.
People. That's all it is. It's all people. And who wants this product or service that you have, or this idea, or who would like this? And sometimes you will cater just to a section of the market and say, well, this is my area, niche. And this is good. Yes, your image. Yeah, this is what there's people like that, and there's enough of them to make me successful. And the other thing about success, especially when you're starting as an entrepreneur, is that the measure of success is not about your bank balance, although you have to, to be liquid and you have to be able to pay your bills. But it's about what makes you happy, what gives you contentment and a feeling that you're achieving something, that you're doing well. You know, I used to own a music studio. There were big rehearsal studios, and it was a very simple, straightforward business. But we had a lot of little extra things like functions within it, which differentiated us from other music studios and which made it very, very popular. Okay, we had 6 rooms. We were extremely busy 7 days a week. During the day, we had schools come in and learn and rehearse because we have a thing called the Rock School, which is a college for musicians. And they would have bands that they would have to work as projects together, and songwriting and rehearsing and performance studies and all that kind of stuff. So we were extremely, extremely busy. And it was a great... Unfortunately, the turnover in this, even though it was very successful, the turnover was good. I mean, it was €250,000, so €1 million zlotys. But the overheads were obviously very high as well. And I was always good with staff. When the staff that I had were well paid, well looked after, quality time off. Because,
as far as I remember, there were some Polish people.
And there was. We had two Polish, one the manager, two sisters, two Polish sisters who came and worked with. And they were actually, Joanna was the head manager. And I could walk away and leave her do it. I was, that's another quality that an entrepreneur needs, is to be that ability to delegate, to find the right person, to put them in position and look after them and appreciate them and give them some autonomy as well. Let them be able to make their own decision and let them learn, I remember the story with Joanna. There was a code to go into the office for the door. It was a big, heavy metal door. And I was at a wedding in Latvia. And she rang me and said, I can't get in the door. I don't know what to do. And I said, okay, if you go to the tool cabinet, you can go, because we had windows, but they were shuttered and they were padlocked for security. I said, if you go there, you can get because she didn't have a key for the locks, because it was inside the door. I said, you can get the angle grinder. Go and just cut the lock, open the shutter, break the glass if you have to, and open the window and climb through, and you can open it from the other side. So she did that. The following day, or the day after, I arrived home and I went, and she had wedged the door so it couldn't close. So I got her prepared everything. She was at her desk, and then I put the code in, like it was 321 or something. I put the code in and it opened. I said, there's nothing wrong with this lock. And she said, but. And I said, okay. I cleared the code and said, that's that. You put the code in. And she came in and she was putting 1, 2, 3 in, right? She was putting the wrong code. And she kept trying it. And then she felt really embarrassed. And then I said, okay, don't worry. I'll make some tea and we'll relax. It's done. And she came down and she said to me, when I came with the tea, she said, oh, I feel so stupid. I really don't, maybe I shouldn't work here because I'm such an idiot. And I said, Joanna, what are you saying? He says, if you leave me, I just have to get another idiot. And I like this idiot. The idiot that's here is my favourite idiot. So so you have to be able to encourage people, and people make mistakes all the time.
All the time.
Everyone. So big deal. You get on, you move on. And I think that's really important. That kind of ability to work with people, and even though I was the employer, we were a team. There was no real boss. I mean, I had a veto on things. If we couldn't decide what to do, I would say, this is what we're going to do. It was quite democratic in how we worked. And everybody loved working there. I mean, they look forward to going to work. It was interesting. Obviously bringing musicians in and out, and we had big musicians and baby musicians, and we had rock stars and Hollywood stars. It was all this kind of really weird kind of clientele, and everybody got on, but everyone was treated exactly the same.
Getting my shameless, or our shameless share here. You had some Poles there, and you loved those idiots. There's a very good reason you're coming here to Poland. You could find another.
We could find another idiot company, but this idiot company is the best. It's the best of all the idiots. That's true. I mean, I think entrepreneurship is about adventure, and you have one life, and it's a good life. Because you create a network of friends, you create a network of people. If you treat them well, and you share your ideas and even you share your business, because sometimes you have a business you can't. I can't do this by myself. I need to bring in partners.
Or that's not my vibe, but here's the studio that will do it better.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how you gain success. Success is measured by the quality of your life rather than your bank balance. As long as your bank balance is a plus and you can pay your bills and you're comfortable, then that's the most important thing. But you have to also, as an entrepreneur, be willing to learn certain things. This is what's really important. You have all these qualities to be an entrepreneur. You have the ability to dream up ideas. You have the ability to network with people and make friends and create yourself a community. It's also really important to understand things like accounting, you know. You don't have to become an accountant, but you have to be able to understand a balance sheet and a cash flow projections.
What brings money to your company and what drains you?
How you spend it and when it comes, and you know how it works in this way. But you need valuation of your company. You have to understand what is your company worth. You know, what is, and that's what understanding a balance sheet is. You can read a lot about this thing. Then there's the other side of that. You have to learn about culture, how everyone's roles are important, and definition of people's roles and responsibilities. That's important. You do this, I'll do that, you know. That's an important thing. Understanding a little bit about the law is important, and just basic principles gives you a very strong foundation to implement ideas that you have. So learning all these skills, it's not, they say entrepreneurs are born, and sometimes entrepreneurs are born with imagination, but they have to learn skills as well.
Yep.
You know, you don't come out as a baby in the maternity ward and you're suddenly an entrepreneur. You have to learn about life and learn about the world and learn about the tools to use.
Sometimes there happen life-changing events that force you into being a business person, and that's also okay if you're just becoming an entrepreneur out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you're suddenly successful.
Yeah.
Recently, the guy Khaby Lame sold the rights to his image for like millions of dollars, and he started on a bunk bed with a broken phone and just simple.
Amazon started in a garage.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
it doesn't. Projects scale up at their own rate in relation to what the market is and what the demand is, or what people want from your product. So that's how you scale. And you have to be able to be ready if something goes well, to take that opportunity. If you say, oh, I started this little bookshop or whatever, and I've been selling books online, but now everybody they want me to sell kettles and tables and furniture. And so I have to be able to build out the thing. And that takes money. And so you need to go to help and get finance and do that. And there are things like you learn not to be, like if you're going for a loan at a bank, you always have to realize that the bank needs you as much as you need them. Because if a bank has money to give out, if it doesn't give it to people, or it's too conservative in the way, it'll make less and less money, you know, because that's where banks make money. So you have to, you know, realize that you're part of a whole ecosystem. You're not isolated. You're part of the whole thing, and you have to be able to, you know, look at those guys and go, okay, that's a bank. I shouldn't feel intimidated. Sometimes you do feel intimidated, of course, especially when you're starting out. But you have to realize they need me as much as I need them.
That scene from the Yes Man movie with Jim Carrey I liked a lot, where the main character, played by Jim Carrey, got praised for giving out loans, giving this benefit of trust.
Okay, I don't know this film.
After, it's a bit silly, but really motivational.
Silly movies are fun, yeah.
Really motivational about being this person that holds all the opportunities and whatever life throws.
Okay.
But the guy got praised for giving out loans, benefit of trust, after years of denying anything, and it probably is real world inspired. Most people just paid off, got some businesses, got their lives improved, and everyone was happier there.
Yeah. So he was making people happy.
That's a movie scene, but I believe
it's reflected in real life as well. Yeah, it is. I mean, as you know, all art comes from real life anyway.
Yeah.
You know, it's a reflection of real life. You know, I worked in theatre for 20 years. I did big theatre productions in London and New York and in Ireland, and then went into some movies. And that didn't work on a lot of film, but it worked on quite a few. And you realised, you know, and it was great fun. And that's how I kind of went into the music as well, because there was a crossover between actors and musicians and stuff. And a friend of mine was a musician, and he was actually quite a famous musician in Ireland. He was low level, but he was well known. But he didn't have any management, and he had asked me to help him. And that's how I got involved in that. And I ended up working with an agency, a music agent, which went and put tours together for different artists. And I became very friendly with a guy called Ray Garvey. And Ray Garvey had a band called Raymond. was his first, and the first song was called Supergirl, and he became huge in Europe. He's not known really that well in Ireland, but he's an Irish guy. He lives in Germany, but he plays in stadiums. And I'm sure you've seen him on MTV.
I think I know the song.
Yeah. So Ray, is from Kerry, but he was around this time when we were having this, organising these tours in Europe. And he was one of the bands. He was in one of the bands that we were organising these tours for. And they were playing in small Irish pubs and the odd university and stuff like that. It wasn't a major. And this is actually an interesting thing about entrepreneurship. He wanted to be his own solo artist. He was an amazing songwriter. And he had this great talent, and he was driven to do it. This is just what he was born to do this. A great musician and a great personality to go with it. But he couldn't get anywhere in Ireland. First of all, there was a lot of competition there for what he was doing. There was also kind of a ceiling, because it was such a small country. So because we'd travelled so much in Germany with the band, he knew people, he got to know people there. He went to Germany and lived in Munich for a while, put a band together himself, just a few guys he knew that he had met over the years of playing in Germany, the band. And they got signed to Sony. And one of the reasons they got signed to Sony in Munich was they were different in the sense he was an artist who wrote in English. He didn't write in German. And that was interesting for the record company, because then if they signed him and they had the publishing for his songs and they made his records, they could sell his records into America and into Britain. So it expanded their market for them, for the German part of Sony. And sometimes that gave them this unique selling point. They had an artist, which a lot of people would think German record companies will only sign German artists, for the German market. But they were trying to get international. So they did something which was against what they would normally do. It became a huge success, yeah. I think it was for this particular office of Sony in Germany, he was their biggest artist for a while. Then he started writing songs for Nelly Furtado and stuff like that. And he plays... I've gone to his concert and this 50,000 people, and it's huge, and he's on TV all the time, and every time I go to Germany I turn the television on in the hotel room. The chances are it's going to be Ray is going to be which is good, but again, he's someone who changed his environment, and that sometimes is this one simple thing that can make something. So sometimes it's just one tiny little thing that between failure and success. Well, it's also the thing that goes between failure and success. It's something sometimes you don't even think about it. It's so simple.
Last time I watched German TV, I saw some donkeys physiotherapy, but maybe next time I'll have more luck.
Wow. Donkey physiotherapy.
Yes.
That's a whole new genre I've never come across.
Donkeys asses doing
I love
some
donkeys, but,
exercises. Maybe next time I'll have some more luck.
I must Google that. Google. I wonder what I'll find.
Oh, we can talk for ages.
Yeah, I keep talking. And you can edit it, I've got lots of stories, so I'm happy.
No, maybe save some for next time when our project gets in better shape, more.
But I want the people who are listening, particularly those who are starting out and have ambition. You'll always get setbacks. You'll always fail, and you learn from those failures. Don't be hard on yourself when something doesn't work out. There's always more opportunities, and it means that you just have to either try again or change the direction you're going in. Change something to see how, So if you have a good product, and this is especially comes when you want to bring in investment, having a good product that is well thought out and easily explainable, and you understand who this product is for, you understand where they live and where they exist, then you always will find people to support you and help you with that. There'll always be people who won't be interested, and there'll always be people who will reject you, but you will find your tribe. You will find your people.
And if you have a bad product?
If you have a bad product, then you'll learn very quickly. The world can be cruel in that sense, that you'll learn very fast that this is not going to work. But don't take that to heart. That's part of the process. Nobody is perfect. We've all had our failures.
Yeah.
You know, and circumstances always change as well. You might have a market one year, you know, and in 5 years' time, that market might have completely changed the dynamics. And sometimes, and businesses fail that have previously been successful, and businesses fail because the market has changed and they didn't adapt. So you always have to kind of look ahead a little bit as well. That's important, to look and see what's happening in the world. Like we're now in our world, our whole world, at the very beginning of a complete societal revolution and disruption. And there are people who are well versed in this and who are building these systems, these AI systems, and they're telling us it's going to completely destroy all the jobs, or we're going to have robots doing all the work and all that kind of stuff. But there's going to be room for human ingenuity, and some humans have to be in charge of all this. And the world will change, and there will be disruption. And out of that disruption, out of chaos, comes opportunity. A lot of the future people who may be sitting at a computer desk in an office somewhere now, inputting stuff into a system like an insurance office or whatever, and a years later, it'll be an AI agent doing that, and they'll be gone. They will have to become entrepreneurial as well. They will have to learn these entrepreneurial skills just to make a living of their own. Because if there are no jobs available, and the unique thing about this forthcoming revolution, unlike previous revolutions, is that the scope of it is very wide. It affects all sectors. And the amount of jobs needed to be done by humans is going to be reduced across the board. So that means that you even retraining yourself to become a lorry driver or a bus driver or something may not happen, because the buses will drive themselves, you know, and that's already happening. This is a real world.
Autonomous cars, taxis.
Autonomous cars, they're coming to Europe. They're this year they're starting in London. Tesla have got a contract to start. I think they're starting in Paris as well, or suburbs of Paris initially. And this will come. The technology is mature now for these systems. You have companies, particularly in the States. There's one company called Aurora, and they have like an 18-wheeler delivery truck, huge juggernaut, and it travels every 2 days from Dallas to Houston, and it drives all by itself. And you can go online and watch the camera in the cockpit as it drives along, and there's nobody there. But it does it, and it's been doing this now for 18 months without incident. So that technology is there. That'll become more ubiquitous over time, you know, and it'll take over the world. It will happen. Some people say 3 years, some say 5 years, some say it could be 10 years. But it's going to happen fast. The upshot of all this is that people have to become entrepreneurial themselves. We may create this system of universal basic income where everybody gets money from the supply of money that goes around. And that may happen, and most likely will happen, because otherwise you'll have civil unrest. You know, you can't. This is a huge challenge for governments globally, and I know they're not ready. You see in Davos this year, it was all about AI for the first time. You know, the change from Davos last year and what was talked about, and this year, it's like night and day. So you've got this situation where governments are still behind the curve. They still haven't anticipated. They're thinking, this is 20 years or 30 years. And governments Governments think in 4 or 5 year terms. That's, you know, they don't care about 5 years plus, because they may not be in power, or they'll deal with it because they have an election beforehand. So you have this situation where they're just not ready for it. And this is going to be chaotic. This will cause disruption. But people will have to learn that even though you may eventually get universal basic income and stuff, then that should give you the scope to become entrepreneurial, to find little things, little jobs that can be done in exchange. And sometimes it might be exchange on a barter system, you know. It mightn't even be doing it for cash. But, you know, you'll find these jobs. You might get a guy who's a handyman who'll go and paint his neighbour's house. You have a van, he'd do removals or something, you know, or helping other people, you know, and he was a top accountant and the AI took his job away and now he has to do this. So you're going to have to be entrepreneurial. That's going to be the new top level skill in the world.
Thank you for all the stories
All right.
and all the wisdom. And in exchange, I
I love it.
I know you like it. I know you.
Makimo, yeah. I can't wait. But that's good. It's for me. Love it. It's nice. And the good thing about it, I need something warm because in Ireland it's very cold at the moment. This is great. Thank you very much. Yeah. So I'm going to stand out, and everyone will be asking me, "Who's Makimo?"
Comparing to the green island of Ireland.
Yeah.
You will stand out.
I'll stand out because I do wear green quite a lot, but because I don't. It's like camouflage. But sometimes you need to stand out. Thank you very much.
As a farewell treat for our listeners, can you say something in Gaelic?
In Gaelic,
Yeah.
Oscuelga is Gaelic. Let's see, what can I say? Some words of advice. Nelen Tinton don Hinton Fein, which is kind of complicated. It means there's no fireside like your own fireside. Your home is the best home for you. That's what it means. Or the greeting when you're clicking glasses is sláinte.
This I know.
Sláinte is
stable.
It means health. It's just a word for health. And the Irish language it's thriving. People are getting interested in speaking again. For a long time, when I was growing up, you were forced to learn Irish, But because we were ruled by Britain for 700 years, and we only got our independence in 1922, so it's over 100 years ago, we lost a lot of that. And we also it was at the time it was modern to speak English because the Americans spoke English. The Western world was the common language. So if we only spoke Irish, only the Irish would understand each other, So, but now we have a language that is growing within the country, and people are a lot more bilingual than they were because it's become kind of sexy to speak Irish again. When I was at school, it was kind of too political, and it was kind of they were made to feel like, if you want to be a patriot of Ireland, you have to speak, which is always, you never blackmail someone into learning something. You just you show them the love that you have for it, and they'll respond to that.
No one learned anything by being harassed.
Yeah, exactly. You can harass, they become your enemy, But so, thank you very much.
Thank
in
you.
Irish, we say, Gorv Mila Mahagut, which means 100,000 thank yous. Gorv Mila Mahagut. So, 100,000 thank yous on you.
Bardzo dziękuję.
Oh, works. That's
Almost
great.
the same.
Yeah. So, this is fantastic. Thank you very much.
Being an entrepreneur is a long game. And as Seamus showed us, it requires mindset that most people never develop. Well, there must be a reason why 2 Irish people visit us in Łódź on a regular basis. To our audience, don't let your ideas be taken by fear. Keep building. Follow It's Makimo and Grounds for Discussion for more behind the scenes of our projects and conversations like this one. Good luck! And until next time.